Welcome to Maximal Being,
a podcast devoted to ditching fad diets and using real science to get you healthy and feeling great.
I'm Doc Mock, a GI and functional medicine doctor who harnesses the power of gut health to get you achieving your goals.
And I'm Jacky P, a well-informed layman who challenges the experts and asks the questions that you want.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button or leave a comment.
And now, on to the show. So we've been speaking with Chris about ESS 60 or C60, right? I'm gonna be a little bit of a pessimist here because I'm the pessimist man. Taking off the layman, be pessimist. I'm always
smiling.
It's
still
Jacky
smiling,
pessimist.
Yeah, Jacky pessimist. Jacky pessimist. So what's the other side of that, right? So when you listen to, and I'm not saying this is, with your supplement, but, you put on TV and there's like, oh, take the supplement to help you with everything. And the last 45 seconds is someone talking very fast and very low. Oh, if you take this, blah, 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 you might have bleeding, or you just might die or explode and turn to a black hole, right? Like all these other things, right? So as great as this is, and trust me, I don't have the scientific knowledge to challenge that, but what are some of the, what's the backside of it? Like, what are some things that you've seen that, whether maybe it may not work for specific folks, or like, what are the things that you say, hey, listen, like this is the thorn with the rose, if you will?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think you could go a couple ways with this. So I've got a two-time US ultra running champion, loves our product, says he didn't feel anything when he was taking one serving. Our typical serving is 1 teaspoon. When he tripled it, now he's hooked, and he's a great proponent for the product. So the question is, like, how much can I take? When is it toxic, right? Because that's a concern. In fact, they thought it might be toxic. They put it in toxicity study. The test subjects lived 90% longer. My current theory is that the toxicity is related to the toxicity of olive oil, which involves drowning. Right? Like, we don't have I know of people who have taken bottles of this time and time again. We're running through a really aggressive toxicity kind of, regulated toxicity study. We're the first organization to actually do that, pushing the limits. Typically when you're doing you do kind of probative toxicity studies to figure like how much is it definitely toxic, and then at what point is it safe? And we have not found a toxicity level. In this case, it's in a rat model. So that's my current theory. We don't have negative testimonials. This may surprise you about the FDA. When I saw this on the FDA.org website, I literally took a screenshot of it. And this was really in 2018 when we're coming onto the market as a supplement. And like, okay, well, let me figure out how do we navigate these waters. These are very foreign waters for us. Get on their website and it says, you do not have to prove that a supplement is safe before you bring it to market. Took a screenshot because I was like, that's going to be gone soon, because that can't be true. But then you start thinking about what is a different supplement, and what is it that the FDA might have to manage, right? So we could have a Jacky P supplement, which is 10% vitamin D and 90% vitamin C, and we have a Doc Mock supplement that is the reverse. Those are different supplements, and there's no way that the FDA has time to review all of the potential iterations of supplements that are on the market. It's just not possible. There isn't the funding. What is your responsibility is to report any serious adverse side effects to the FDA. Now, to report 1 or 2 adverse side effects really doesn't mean they're going to shut you down or anything. It's just your legal obligation to do that, because some people are going to have reactions. Everybody is slightly different. It turns out we just haven't had to report anything to the FDA. We've been selling this to the wacky biohacker markets since about mid 2013, and to really kind of the public at large in 2018. And we don't have any serious adverse side effects.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? It's Doc Mock here. Many of you are returning to the gym now, but some are not going back. Regardless of what you plan, Rogue has got the right gear to fit your needs. I personally own a barbell set and love it. The Black Ops shorts are sweat resistant and flexible for getting deep in your squats. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/rogue for our referral link. Order 3 items and they ship for free. And as usual, it's Doc Mock, and I'm here to maximize your pathway to wellness. If you're stuck at home and cannot make it to the grocery store, delivery may be the best way to stay clean and healthy. Instacart is the national leader in the direct-to-home delivery service. With numerous major chains and food from smaller stores, you can get those local veggies sent directly to your doorstep. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/Instacart and maximize your nutrition today.
I also, in my literature search, did not find significant adverse events related to any of the studies. But, that said, I also found somewhat limited data in humans. The study that I did find in humans is regarding aging of skin, and it was a randomized trial that was done in 2010. And this was in 23 patients, and they, put on carbon-60 in a lipophilic sort of skin preparation. And actually, in the group that took that preparation as compared to placebo, again, randomized controlled, placebo-controlled trial, one of the highest forms of clinical evidence, they actually had benefit by week 4 and 8 in the study. So that is the rose to the thorn part. I did, in terms of the longevity side, and again, these are all kind of like mouse model, rat model studies. I have seen negative studies quite a bit in my search. So I think the jury's still out as far as that goes. But that said, if you have anecdotal evidence, I think that your company should put a study together. And I think that there's huge benefit to be able to add to this area of science, which appears to be just somewhat explored. So let's do it.
Yeah. Well, so if you think about the scientific process, right? And one of the things is we're trained as scientists to ignore anecdotes and maybe even more so as lay people, okay, when there's anecdotes, you should just ignore them. The reality is the anecdote is the start of the scientific process, right? You come up with a theory. The theory is, as an example, our product helps people sleep because our most consistent testimonial is people take it in the morning. They report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. So that anecdote actually provides the beginning of the scientific process. Then you've got a theory, you run an experiment. In this case, the theory was it's toxic. We run an experiment. Okay, it's not toxic. The next thing that's supposed to happen is another institution is supposed to perform that same study, right? Or something extremely similar. This was published mid-2012. We're 2023. It's been more than 10 years and nobody stepped up to the plate to do that, to redo that initial study. That's why we're going through these toxicity protocols so that we can first do that particular study. We'll be making changes. What's interesting in that original study is they started giving doses to the rats on month 10 and finished on month 17. Even though the last dose was given on month 17, typical and all the water rats died, the control rats died on month 30, around month 32, on average month 32. The test subjects, even though they stopped, their last dose was month 17, lived out to month 62. So there's whatever's going on, it's pretty profound, at least in that animal model. So that is our next step. I can tell you, I don't know if you're familiar with Oura Ring, if you've got an Oura Ring or a Whoop.
I've worn it, yeah.
Right. One of the better sleep trackers on the market. Pre-COVID, I was put in contact with a Benjamin Smar. He's actually a University of California, Berkeley professor. He is now, he wasn't at the time, who is a consultant for Oura Ring. So we had access to the back end of the data, provided that people would approve that he could get into that data. So we were in the process of starting a sleep study. Turns out the Oura Ring's pretty good at identifying COVID. And so he disappeared and his role has changed. What we did do is go through and complete a survey process where we surveyed people 10 days to trying MyVitalC, surveyed about their sleep, surveyed them 10 days on the product, 10 days off the product, and 10 days back on the product. These are the kinds of things that really are in our price range, right? When you start thinking about double-blind, placebo-controlled human trials, it's off the charts, kind of expensive. Yep. And in that particular case, I mean, we had a 100% improvement in sleep, not 100% improvement in quality. No, everybody who took the product reported some improvement in sleep. So yeah, it was one of my fears too, kind of getting into the supplement industry, is that most supplement companies don't do the responsible thing and don't go and do this kind of research. And the logic comes from an entire business. And I'll share the logic. The logic is, what if I do that study and it doesn't work? Now I don't feel comfortable selling it. And I'd rather know where it does work, where it doesn't work, so that I can speak intelligently and scientifically about where it does work. And so we are moving down that path. It's just an inexpensive process.
I love that. You know, I think at a minimum, I don't want to go on too much of a tangent here, Jacky P, because we have to get to our questions for Chris. But yeah, at a minimum, taking one shot of olive oil a day is like one of, a really amazing thing that a human can do. And there's great randomized data to prove that. As an aside, those of you that cook with olive oil, you have to note that the smoke point is exceptionally low as compared to other oils. So my wife and I personally do not use olive oil for cooking. It's better to have it in its raw form out of the bottle. So use it for salad dressing, for instance. But if you cook with it, those fat molecules can denature, and you can generate some products that are not as good for your health, and in fact, pro-inflammatory. So choose other oils like grapeseed oil, like coconut oil. You can even do something like a ghee, and it's a much better alternative to olive oil. And then as an aside to your supplement comment, we tend to use a company called Fullscript, and Fullscript vets their products just like the FDA would. So I know, as a functional medicine, as a healthcare provider that does lots of research in the cancer space with supplements, that, these products that I am utilizing on that platform are safe and they are potentially effective if I do the research myself. Jacky P?
That's a good point. Doc Monk, you're so smart. Kiss your brain.
Oh,
kiss your brain. Just
I'm humbled. I'm humbled.
And also to my fellow grillers out there, be careful with olive oil as well, because it's very flammable when you put on the grill. It's good to, saute some things in, but yeah, olive oil. Oh, also, speaking of olive oil, this shot of olive oil, I've heard, and this is not one of those fake, I heard from a friend, there's an urban legend out there, but if you take a shot of oil before you go out, boozing with your friends, that it protects yourself and everything. From the anecdotal evidence, I don't know the scientific, it doesn't work. So if you hear that, don't do it. Just hydrate, drink a lot of Gatorade before you go out.
Eat before you drink. That absolutely will help. Yeah.
Yes. And just imbibe responsibly. All right.
Also, I can tell you, I have not had a hangover in 2.5 years. Like, I don't get hangovers.
That's awesome.
Right. And if you think about, alcohol, you talked about this too, right? Yep. Interrupts your sleep. The percentages may have been wrong, but definitely.
But it does.
Yeah. One of my first conversations with Benjamin Smur was, hey, I don't know where it popped into my head. You probably have sleep data on people who have actually imbibed, and what does that look like? And it has your resting heart rate takes significantly longer to get to its low point. And when I looked at some of my initial data, that was not the case, right? And when you look at all of the sleep testimonial, my business coach, I love what he said. He said, for 50 years, I needed an alarm clock to wake up. Since I've been taking the product, I no longer need an alarm clock. If you can positively impact that sleep, then you're going to positively impact, whatever there might be related to a hangover. By the way, I haven't said this. The FDA has not evaluated our product. It is not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease. And that's because I'm talking about hangover, which at least my first instinct was, well, how is that an FDA concern? And then when you think about it, it's alcohol poisoning. Oh, poisoning is an FDA concern.
For sure.
That's fair. And also, Chris, I would say one thing I do respect about this conversation we've had is you're very fair, and you try to cover all sides, and you talk about and you talk about you don't know, and I respect that, and I appreciate you for that.
Paleo, keto, vegan, and carnivore. Maybe you've tried them all, but did you have success? Are you still doing that diet? Turns out there's not just one diet right for one particular person. By understanding how your body works and the relationship behind your body's workings and these diets, you can then approach the perfect plan for you. In the Perfect Human Diet course, we talk to you about your body's inner workings and the pros and cons of each plan. We discuss how our ancestors ate and have eaten, and lay a framework to tailoring a plan that is perfect for you. To learn more about the Perfect Human Diet course, head to maximalbeing.com/courses to find out more. And as always, I'm Doc Mock, and I'm here to maximize your health. You cannot supplement your way to health, but there are things that we need to add to our lives that can maximize our pathway to wellness. The American diet is virtually devoid of omega-3 fatty acids, which play a major role in cardiovascular disease, gut permeability, and mental health. Personally, I take omega-3s every night, and iHerb is the best place for clean, natural sources of supplements. I love the ZenWise omega-3 fatty acid supplement, which is free of fish burps and good for the environment. Head on over to maximalbeing.com/iHerb, that's IHERB, and enter the code B as in boy, D as in dog, B as in boy, 5528, and receive 10% off your orders for all supplements. Maximize your supplements with iHerb.
But it's time for the lightning round questions, because we're running out of time, right? And I want to get into the questions, and I might throw in a mix here. So first, we're going to go very easy, very low impact here. What is your favorite exercise?
My is sprinting. I absolutely love to sprint. And I don't know, there's something when I started picking it up again, there's something unbelievably childlike. And maybe that just goes to like primal about sprinting, right? Like, because you only sprint in dire situations. I'm about to eat or get eaten. Like that was historically the only reason you sprinted. But I just love sprinting.
You know, I respect that, because same thing, my son who's 4, he only has one mode of transportation. He could be going 10 feet or 2 feet. He's going to sprint there. Yep. And I don't know if the listeners know, Doc Mock knows I had a hip replacement back in February. And one of the things that I'm actually looking forward to is actually just running, right? And like engaging those fast twitch muscles again. So
love it.
Nice. I like it. Sprinting. We're gonna sprint. I'm gonna come out to Texas. We're gonna sprint together.
That would be awesome.
Right.
I'll be there this weekend, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah. In Houston or?
Yeah, presenting at a conference.
Oh, very cool.
At
Man,
Baylor.
if you have a free moment, I'll send you a text. We can go have a beer or something.
Yeah, sounds good.
Listen, Doc Mock, for those who don't know, Doc Mock is the guy. Okay. Everyone wants him at this conference. They just, book him, folks. Book him. All right, Chris, what is your favorite health book and why?
So right now, man, there's a whole bunch of them. Can I say mine that's not published yet? Like maybe that's it.
If you can mention it, but then we need another book.
Yeah. So I think I can think of 3 that really impact me. The one I'm going to go with Life Force right now, because it's a better broad, covers a broad spectrum of not just longevity, but also some pretty amazing medical technologies, right? Like printing organs and doing stem cell work. I don't know if you're familiar with Life Force. It's with Tony Robbins, and I think it's Peter Diamandis, the guy who created the X Prize. And it's I think it's fairly recent, 6 months or something, but it's a thick, long read, and it covers a lot of pretty amazing stuff.
I like it. Of course, Doc Mock knows it. So talk about your book, flaunt a little bit.
So mine is Live Better and Longer. And it really talks about the journey, like how am I moving in the direction of being a longevity expert, right? Because that's all I do now is read, listen, process information about longevity. What is that? Why is that the case, right? So the story kind of really in depth of, being at the University of Houston, getting associated with fullerenes, and then this becoming a product. And then, okay, now what is the research I'm doing and what can I share with people so that they've got some new information kind of relative to everyone touches a different audience.
No, I love it. That's cool. I third question, and I have a few more. We have some time for a few more after third. So this one is, it's typically, usually for those who listen, like, what was the worst like diet you've heard of or been on? Right. So that's kind of like question 3A, but because of your longevity, I would want to know, like, what is like the worst idea you've heard about longevity? Like, what if someone come to you and said, like, oh, I do this because it makes me feel young? Like, if there's like just some kooky, wacky like idea out there.
Okay, so worst diet, and here's I have kind of a broad picture of diets, which is most diets that you go on, the number one thing that they do, which actually makes them somewhat positive, is get you off of processed food, right? Like most of them, none of them are like, go buy Stouffer's in the freezer section of a refrigerator and eat 3 of them a day, right? Like that's, none of them are that. They're, stop eating the Cheetos, stop it, like all of them. So you're going to get, I think, benefits, and a lot of people report. I think that's why people report benefits no matter the diet. I frankly was a little enamored by the carnivore diet just because I think it sounds really amazing. I don't think the science supports it at all. I think you're bending over backwards to try and find reasons that the science doesn't match with the diet. So yeah, I'm probably a little less afraid of red meat than I was before, and I'm not convinced that's a good thing. But meat is delicious, so we're there. Let's keep the rest of the life balanced.
Sorry, big carrot.
What? Yeah, if only I could have a carrot with the steak.
Yeah.
Let's see. Something related to longevity? I don't know. I was on a pretty prominent podcast, and there's I'm trying to remember what is the name has just totally escaped me. It's the drug you take so that you don't reject transplants. And it's in the longevity space. Doc Mock, you probably know what it's.
Rapamycin.
Rapamycin, yeah, and that's just a little bit scary, right? It's one of those things, right?
The side effects are horrendous.
Yeah. There was it was mentioned probably in one of Dr. Gundry's book. We're talking about, maybe it was another book where they were talking about, if you take these guys who were working in an explosive factory, they were losing weight pretty quickly, and they found the chemical that was in the explosives, and then they started taking, and it was working great as a weight loss pill. Except when you take a little bit too much of it, you die, right? So it's kind of like, it's really good until here, but that's not good for human nature, because human nature is like, well, if 1 is good, then 2 is probably better. I don't know if that's built into kind of the overdoses for general medications, right? Like we know that they're going to overdose, so let's drop it lower. But I think those are incredibly risky ideas.
I think we're almost out of time here, but for those of you that have not done so, I would encourage you to listen to the Radio Lab on rapamycin. It's like a fascinating story on how they discovered it. It was just one guy that went to Easter Island, brought the wrong thing back, and it's an amazing thing in terms of preventing transplant rejection. So, Jacky P, any other questions for Chris?
I just want to know about the improv background. Just give me a quick, less than 30, because we're out of time. Less than 30 seconds. Improv. Give it to me.
So I took an improv 1 class. I loved it. The end of the class was to do a performance, right? So get your friends to pay $5 and watch you perform. When I was on stage for the very first skit, I said, I'm either going to do this big or like, this is just a waste of time. Did it really big, got a lot of kind of approval from people who are who actually do improv. Because I'm cheap, I took the improv 1 class again, because I got it at half off. So I took the improv 1 class again, and they had just started an improv troupe, and they invited me to join. And the long and short of why this really worked, one time after the show, I asked my mom what she thought, and her response was, it felt like being at the dinner table when we were growing up. Because that's what we would do. Like what we are doing here right now is like, take a word. I almost threw out like, what's up, Doc Mock? Like, because we got like that's just what I did growing up. And so it really is very natural. What it did hone is the skills of improv are pretty phenomenal. And one of them, which I noticed probably in your, I don't know, first 10 lines, make the other person look brilliant, right? Like your job is to say yes and make the other person look brilliant. Even if you're going to come up with a kind of a counter opinion, how do I do that and still make them look brilliant. And I think that's an invaluable skill.
Doc Mock, you might be onto us.
That's right. Chris, where can people find you if they're looking for you?
So I did make a URL for your audience, so they can go to
Thanks.
MyVitalC, C for carbon.com/maximal being. And then I also made a coupon code. When they go there, you can get any one of our products. If you get our products on subscription, you get a 25% discount. Take advantage, even if you just want to try it, take advantage of that discount. Our team is not trained to talk you out of it. You can send an email, you can send a phone call. We actually have like our customer service team has 600 some odd 5-star reviews. So don't worry about that. Take advantage of the discount. And then there's also an additional $15 off if you use the coupon code Maximal Being.
Thanks, Chris. For those of you that haven't done so already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment, because that is how we get the word out. If you have any questions for me or any of our brilliant guests like Chris here, email us at team@maximalbeing.com. Although I am a licensed board certified doctor, we do recommend that you consult with your healthcare providers prior to instituting any of the advice given on this show. And as always, I'm Doc Mock, and I'm here with Chris Burres and Jacky P, and we are here to maximize your health.
What's going on, Maximal Beings? Doc Mock here. If you haven't done so already, leave us a comment and hit the subscribe button. Let your friends and family know. That way we can get the word out and continue to bash the bro science.